Are you ready, kids?
I'm your host for this episode and all episodes, Hookaloof 24, a bear. And on this episode, our guest is the squirrel with all those sounds. That's right, it's none other than Jeschke, and today we will ask him a series of chilling questions that drill down to the dark heart of squirrels.
Oh dear, I don't know if you want to go down there. It's pretty bad.
I bet it's nuts. Boom!
Oh my god.
Gotta get that one in real quick before I derail the entire thing.
God, I have not come prepared to this. I didn't even think of that.
Well, don't worry. I don't have any more.
Oh, okay.
That's the only one I had locked and loaded in any capacity.
I'm sure some will come. Scurry ein.
Oh.
Yeah.
A for effort.
There's got to be some sort of scurrying in or scurrying ein, or I don't know.
That's okay. We'll wait until the winter of this podcast passes to dig up our treasure trove of bad puns.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
That one's not even a pun. That's just a thing that squirrels do.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing that I was like, oh yeah, well I guess we will do that. Wait a second.
How are you doing this fine day/night, depending on when this podcast is being listened to?
I am all right. I am putting off some work, which is kind of normal for me, but this is work that I need to get done tonight and tomorrow. And I have a friend who's in charge. Basically, I have a friend who's in charge of the project that I'm working on. And I'm basically going to pop up tomorrow and be like, hey, by the way, before I worked on it, I worked on a podcast. Just to stress them out a little bit more. I'll just be like, no, I worked hard on it. I worked great. But first I had to go on a podcast because I'm really important.
I'd say you're pretty important.
Depends on what circles you're in, I guess.
Well, in this particular circle that this podcast is in, every time, or not every time, but a good amount of times that I've asked people who their influences are, they mention you.
Oh, no. Wait, I've listened to these podcasts. I don't know if I've ever heard that. No, wait, I remember hearing it one time. But yeah, either way, I don't know.
Well, let's turn it over to you then. You are a musician and audio wizard. I don't know what the technical term is. But I assume it's wizard.
Sound engineer, I suppose.
All right. That sounds way less fantastical than audio wizard, but more professional.
Yeah, I mean, if it was in a professional setting, then I would say I'm a recording engineer / audio mixer, soundscape creator. I don't know exactly. You'd probably just say, if I ever did audio for, a small cartoon on the internet or something, I would just say audio engineer. Because I engineered the audio. That's pretty much it.
That makes sense. Have you ever done audio for a small cartoon on the internet? That was a very specific example.
I mean, besides Vor stuff, no. I've done a few of those. But, not any, actual... Fanimations or what have you, or anything like that.
Is that something you would like to sort of dip your toe into at some point?
Oh, it's probably something I totally could, but I just haven't dwelled around that area of the internet as much, so not as much opportunity, I guess.
That is fair.
Yeah, I'm like, you would probably need to actually have a need for that too, because I imagine most animators will just do it themselves because they have the sound effects and whatever they want to do, and yeah.
So let's sort of peel back the layers and get more into your past.
Okay.
Particularly with one question that I want to know is, I'm guessing you got your start in music.
Yes, that would be correct. Yeah.
Because I can't imagine anyone got their start in sounds, but who's to say?
Yeah, not as much.
Did you have a particular instrument that you gravitated towards more during your musical start? What inspired you to pick this up?
Oh, well, I mean, me as an instrumentalist, I started playing piano when I was 4 or 5 or something. I was basically listening to my mother playing Pachelbel's Canon, and then I went to the piano and started figuring it out. And then
oh, snap.
Yeah, so then it was oh shoot, we better get this kid some music lessons.
yeah, if your child displays some significant talent, you should invest in that.
Yeah, so even from a young age, like, I don't know, like, I have perfect pitch is basically the term for it. And so music was sort of like kind of developing that, but also using that to further develop music learning or whatnot. And I don't know. I think my ears are better than my piano hands, to be fair, but it certainly makes me look like I'm some sort of genius pianist if I can just pick stuff up by ear.
Yeah, I'll say what you will. That's incredible to me because I couldn't carry a tune if it had a handle.
Ha! But you could
see. I have music
probably
jokes
support
too.
it underneath with
They're
both
just
hands. I don't know. This metaphor is going weird.
I wouldn't know an oboe from an elbow.
Yeah.
I stole that one. But sort of from that avenue of the very sort of prototypical learning how to play piano as a child into other instruments because you were so talented at music, how did you find your way into this sort of sound development side of things?
Well, oh man, I'm trying to think about when exactly it might have been. I believe I was probably in college for music at the time, which, by the way, if you're... Actually, wait, I was about to say, if you're thinking of going into that, then, like, think twice. But then I was like, wait, probably anybody who listens to this would hopefully already be in college. They're not, like, thinking about going into college. Like,
yeah,
get out of here, kids.
If you're under 18, you shouldn't be here. If you are just 18, I don't know, maybe listen with one ear because I still feel a little bit weird about that. Yeah,
but basically I was in college at the time, and there was this one guy that, oh God, I've forgotten his name. Shoot. There was one guy, I think he was called The Nugget, or maybe Nugget. I'm going to look him up in the background while we do this. But he basically posted a few, Vor sound things, and then one day I think I was just like, hey, maybe I can give this a try, and one thing led to another, and eventually now we're sort of here. It was The Nugget. And
interesting. I have not heard of The Nugget.
No, he was he probably posted some sound things probably a good year or so before I'd even tried. The one upload that I would be talking about was April 12th, 2012. So, that's about 8 years ago.
Yeah. God, I feel old.
And then, when I look at my earliest recordings, they were about 2013. So, it was about the tail end of me being in college. I was like, hey, I could give this a try, I think The Nugget posted about how he had some, he posted a bit how he constructed it, and so I took that and, just kind of kept going with it, and now we're here. Yeah.
Also, I've been sort of focusing on the sound stuff, which is mostly just for the audience's sake, because I think that's how most of the people who listen to the show know you.
Oh, yeah.
But I know music is your main steez.
Yeah, which, to be fair, it's not like I have a full-time job in music. I'm kind of like a gigging musician that also does stuff on the internet, and it's all very up in the air, and especially with the pandemic going around, it's sort of not really been a whole lot. But
yeah,
normally I do piano stuff, I do musical theater stuff, and then I go on the internet and talk Vor for the rest of the day.
Sounds like time well spent.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I've always thought about it as if someone were to confront me about it, I would be like, you know what? This Vor stuff is probably one of the more interesting things I'm going to do with my life. It's not good or bad. It's just interesting. Just oh yeah, when I was in my 20s, I was messing around with Vor porn for a while, making sound stuff and kind of setting an example that people could then take further, and then people would be like, oh, that's really weird, that's kind of interesting. And then they would be like, did you actually do that stuff in real life? And they'd be like, hell no. No, this is all strictly fantasy. No. We're not going to go all eaten alive on HBO or whatever it was. No.
God. No, that is no bueno.
Yeah. No. Yeah, no, yeah.
I did have sort of derailing things. I had an experience like that with somebody who didn't understand like knew what the kink was but didn't understand it.
Oh, okay.
Which was when that person at MFF this previous year, which you were also at, which we got to meet and hang out for a brief period, which was fun. But there was that person from the Rolling Stone who was interviewing folks.
Oh, yeah. I didn't actually watch the interview, but I kept seeing clips of it floating around.
I only got, I got a sentence of what I said, written in an article, which was very cool, and I have abused the hell out of that for goof purposes.
Yeah. As you're, as you have the liberty to, pretty much.
Yeah. So, if... I think the journalist's name was E.J. Dixon. If you ever listen to this, first off, thank you for listening. Why? And second, I'm sorry if I have besmirched the name of your newspaper with my association with it.
Well, if they're going around interviewing furries, then going into vor stuff is probably on the tamer side of what could happen.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, she understood conceptually what the fetish was because I got interviewed alongside Neil, Rebel Radio, who has already done an episode.
Yeah.
And we both... I believe he was the one who brought it up, and she was like, I know what that is. And I got asked a series of very awkward sort of questions about that.
Yeah. In that case, I would have probably just been like, what's vor? Let me cover my face and walk away so that nobody knows. Nobody ever sees this sort of thing.
Yeah. Luckily, there was no camera involved. Otherwise, I would have been absolutely terrified.
Oh, yeah, that's good then. Because they probably knew going into it that, you don't want to pull out a camera because nobody's going to answer questions about weird internet stuff.
Oh, yeah. I think I just got lucky in that her cameraman was lost.
Oh, also very possible at MSF.
Yeah. So that was my sort of experience with that, and it was very much somebody asking questions along the lines of well, would you do this in real life? And me having to be like, God, no, I'm not a freak.
Yeah, no. Even Eka's Portal has always had a policy against any sort of reenactment of vor involving small animals or anything like that. That's even they won't get into that territory because that's just screwed up.
Yeah. And if you somehow manage to come on the bad side of morality when dealing with that website as your opponent, then you fucked up somewhere.
Yeah. No,
if the pedophile haven is saying, hey, this is bad, maybe you should stop.
Yeah, it's always the argument of in that case, it's the argument of, well, it's just pixels on a screen. In that case, the argument does not hold up because it's not pixels on a screen whatsoever. It's animal cruelty.
Yeah. It's not even, quote unquote, just a drawing, bro. It's literally an animal that you're hurting.
Yeah. So, reenacting that in real life, no. Imagining fictional scenarios on the internet, yeah.
Yeah. In my imagination, it can't hurt anyone.
Yeah. Except
for me.
And for all we know, it's fulfilling some sort of deep-rooted psychological need that nobody of us can recognize. Nobody knows why we're into vor. Who knows the reasons people are into fetishes?
Yeah. It's hard to say, and I'm not qualified to say, so I won't speculate.
Yeah.
But it is good.
I think the only decent speculation I heard that was by a psychiatrist or psychologist was that fetishes... I'm saying fetishes can be a way, not that they are a way, but fetishes can be a way to, just confront psychological needs or trauma or some way. It's sort of a way of, the mind recontextualizing things to make it appealing to you. But, again, that's, it's like we're fishing in the ocean. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, I personally have talked about this, I think, on the last episode that got posted up, but getting into vor had this unconsolable phobia of it as a child.
Oh, yeah?
And it wasn't until adolescence where even sort of pre-adolescence is when I stumbled into it, when I was a 12-year-old who loved Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh, yeah.
And now I'm a, 23-year-old who loves Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, well, nothing wrong with that.
but I remember stumbling upon some comics that people had drawn, and it sent me into a week-long panic attack.
Yeah. I mean,
until...
No, you keep going.
Nah, just until I looked at it again, and then my best guesstimate is that something combined with hormones and unbridled terror made my brain be like, actually, this is kind of hot.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm gonna not try to get like too much into it, but I also definitely had a fixation from an early age, which again is something that like people could look at for and just be like, oh, it has something to do with like not getting like intimacy or not having like physical connection with people. And it's like, well, that might make sense, but you know, I think I was I stumbled upon a Vor site like sometime later, and then I didn't start getting into the community and like talking to people until I was like 20, so that would have been like 2010 or 2009 even. But yeah, I forget what the point was we were talking about. Right, it's like it's
about what can sort of be expected.
Yeah, whatever it is.
It's weird. It's good, but it is weird.
Oh yeah, and we can get all sorts of things from it. Like heck, I don't know. I'm trying to think of some way that like I know people have done Vor as like a very cuddly, friendly thing, or as a very mean, sadistic thing, and like both have their different purposes and both are fun in different ways, and it's great to see people just taking the fetish any which way.
Yeah, it can go forwards, backwards, and sideways, and it's still good to someone.
Yeah, but in the case of it being like cuddly, I mean like it can be like very comforting. That's the word.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Sorry, I often launch into tangents and then I forget where I started, so I'm just like, yeah, so, yeah.
No, that's totally fine, especially for this format, which is already kind of rambly. But you know, I imagine folks are listening because they want to get to know you.
Yeah, well, heck, I mean, there's not a whole lot to me. I'm very impulsive and just kind of respond based on what's around me, and then just launch into weird things, and yeah, I don't know.
I mean, that's all well and good. That's how you get cool stuff done.
Yeah, well, when I get stuff done. Because part of the problem of being an uncoordinated, like, unscheduled mess is that, like, I might just, you know, it happened with Animal Crossing. It's like, it came out, I haven't gotten hardly much of anything done, and now I have to sit and focus hard on some other stuff that I have to do. And so I made sure, like, put a post on Twitter, just be like, hey, I realize I haven't been streaming for a week like I said I was, but hey, I'm going to be gone for a bit because I got to, like, focus down on some stuff.
Yeah, you mentioned having a project coming up. I don't know if that was before or after we started recording. I assume.
Yeah, no, I've got 2 music projects, and one of them I have to get done, like, well, I have to, like, finish writing it tonight, and then I have to, like, mix it tomorrow, and, you know, hopefully it's okay. I don't know.
I'm sure it'll be great.
Yeah, hopefully. I don't know.
That's kind of a bizarre feeling that only, like, creative people, or not creative people, but, like, creators and posters of things online will ever sort of experience, is that dichotomy of putting little effort into something you don't care about and it gets inordinate attention versus working real hard on something and it gets no attention.
Yeah. It's the sort of paradox that, like, there are probably a lot of experts that might know how to take advantage of it, but there's probably a lot more experts that are just guessing about how to take advantage of that, or like that can figure out the human algorithm, and I have no idea.
I mostly just rely on the Twitter algorithm at this point.
Yeah, well, I can't imagine that algorithm's very great either.
Oh no, it's actually quite terrible. I don't really know much about how the sausage gets made behind the scenes in Twitter, but I know that as soon as I posted a Patreon link, they slashed my tweet impressions to a third of what they were, and then it just recently climbed back up.
Oh, that's weird.
I can only imagine it's some sort of spam thing, but...
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I have my own amount of distrust with social media in general, and I wish I could just not go on Twitter. Like, not because of the people or anything, but just because, like, of how social media just kind of like decides for you what you should see and what other people will see of you. And like
you don't trust Jack's Cool Monster to show you the neatest stuff?
No. I certainly don't I certainly don't trust it to be like good with my data either.
Oh,
like that's a whole topic I could go into ages about, is like the digital impression that like, or not the digital impression, like all the information that's gathered and like sent to places that you don't even know about, and you know nobody's gonna know how bad things could be used for until it's way too late. But you know, we're all just buying into it right now.
Yeah, at this point we're screwed.
Yeah,
I might as well just double down and start signing things with my real name.
Yeah, well, don't sign anything, because that's like the one thing, legal thing, that always can get you. Like if someone could like steal your signature, then that would be really bad.
I would need to have one that was distinct in any way for that to be the problem.
Yeah.
I need to put a watermark on stuff. I don't fucking do that. And I should.
Or even like, I'm thinking of like, I don't know, my mind's starting to go into like deep fake territories where like,
oh shit,
like people are like, oh yeah, you can take videos of people and then just like video magic them into saying anything, or like sticking them into some other role, or I don't know what.
Yeah, as soon as that Pandora's box gets cracked wide the fuck open, it's all over, man.
Yeah, well, I'll say this much, like, people aren't going to realize how much, like, audio can be used for that, but it started. Like, I remember reading a Tumblr post one time that was like, hey, so I just got this phone scam where someone tried to fool me into, like, saying numbers so that they could then go and, like, use clips of my voice to pretend that they were me and stuff like that. It's just like, oh, yeah, that could be a thing. Like, there's already that, there's that AI thing that's been going around using voices from, like, TV shows and video games, and, like, you can sort of make an AI make the character say things based on, like, clips of their voice. But it's not great, but it could be really great later, you know. Who knows? We're all screwed.
Yeah. At this point, it's already the ball's rolling.
Yeah,
it's gonna become a big ass Katamari pretty soon.
Yeah, when I think too much about it, that's the sort of like mood that puts me into just like impulse buying commissions, where it's just like, who cares? I'll spend $50. Like, we're all screwed, so I'm just gonna like get art of myself being ate by this character that I crush on. Like, who cares?
Bring on the Rowan commissions.
Yeah. Wait, who's Rowan?
The tiger guy.
Oh, right, yeah. Oh, shoot. Maybe that will be a thing, but it's hard for me to actually get too invested in the Animal Crossing characters because they're just like cartoon chibis, like in 3D form. I was like, someone posted like a big buff hot dad version. I was just like, that, I can get into that right there. But like in game, it's just like there's teasy words, but I would not be able to get into them based on just appearances.
Yeah, they look like a triangle with an animal head on top.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with that if that's what you look like, listener.
Yeah. But we're
not here to body shame.
Yeah. But in any case, just like, oh, whatever. Like, we're all screwed. Someone's going to find out about the stuff I do one day anyway, so I'm not going to try and hide it.
Yeah. At some point, I fully expect... I think my dad already knows, but at some point my mom's going to find out and she's going to confront me on it, and I'm just going to hand her the receipt for how much money I've made drawing Renamon slightly larger than normal.
Yeah, there is that aspect too. It's like if I put way more time into commissions, maybe I'd be able to eke out a living, but I don't know. It doesn't pay as well as my music stuff does. Yeah, I mean, really, it really doesn't pay hardly as well, to be fair. But...
I imagine not.
Yeah, but my music stuff is also very, like, it happens once or twice a week for, like, an hour or two, and that's it. So it's not like a day job. It certainly doesn't pay enough to, like, pay a lot of bills on its own, you know?
Yeah. same with art commissions on this side. I still have to maintain my day job.
Yeah. It's like, it sucks, but hey, I can't, I wouldn't be able to make a living if I was spending like 15 hours on an audio commission and getting paid like $50 for it. Like,
yeah,
that would just burn me out super hard, and I would be not much richer for it.
That's sort of the problem, is that with artistic endeavors, you can't mass produce them.
Yeah.
Some days you're super in the zone, and some days even one commission can take the entire day, when usually it would only take a few hours.
Yeah, or sometimes it'll be with sound stuff where like I'll just be banging my head against a rock trying to be like, how do I make this sound happen? And like trying a ton of different stuff and nothing's working. Like, I always bring up the example of like that one Dragoness commission that I did, where like I was struggling for ages to be like, what would the sound be for the movement? Like, how do you convey that? Like listen,
sort of the Foley realm?
Like I'm moving my hand. Do you hear anything? Like, just moving is not exactly something that generates a lot of sound. So but
it's got to sound like it does.
Yeah, so I was struggling with that for ages. So yeah, I've been getting more into like doing vocal teasing or doing like voice and audio, because voice is really easy to do, and then the audio can be like, filling in the gaps or whatnot. Or should I say, like, the audio, like the voice can help fill in the early space where it's like, I don't have to try and do the sound of something movement. I could just be like, oh, hey, let me come over and talk to you. Like, hey, now you understand that I am walking towards you.
There you go. It's context clues.
Yeah, it's just like leading the listener along, like with the voice, as opposed to like a whooshing sound or like dust moving or fabric sliding across fabric or whatnot.
Yeah. Although I will say, this does sort of lead into one of the questions that you got asked on the post that you made on Twitter.
Okay.
From user @WhyDoILikeThis.
Yeah, I'm like, I think I've forgotten all of the questions that were asked on Twitter, thank goodness.
They asked, were you ever shy about using your real voice for some of your audio stuff, and do you ever worry that your vor content will outshine your non-fetish content?
I don't know. That's a tricky question, because I've sold a lot of records on Bandcamp. No, I'm kidding.
That's okay. You can humble brag if you want.
No, that was ages ago, and if I tried to sell it by myself, it wouldn't sell nearly as well. I mean, I don't know. For some reason, I've never really felt shy about using my own voice. Like, again, part of me wonders if like someone's going to recognize it and call me out on it one day, but like at that point I'll just be like, yeah, sorry, like what? Is this a problem? Like if
they've gotten to the point where they can recognize you by voice and like pick you out of a crowd, that's some serious devotion to your work.
Yeah, it's like if someone were to try to use it to like impact my job standing, then I would take an issue with it. But if they were just like, hey, it's weird and immoral to be doing vor porn, then I'll just be like, sorry, I got over that when I was 20. Like, there was one point when I was like just getting early on that I was like, I'm sinful, I'm so ashamed in what I'm doing, and I deleted everything off of my computer, which wasn't a whole lot because I was transferring it from a computer like via floppy disks, because I didn't have, like, flash drives weren't a thing.
Oh god.
But yeah, then like later on I was just like, whatever, like porn, yeah, okay, cool. Like, I'm not a Christian, I don't have to care about celibacy or anything.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. Like I
just porn it
I
up.
think like the only person that might have an issue with it, like that I would care about, would be like if I had a significant other or if I was dating or something. But like, if it's a significant other that isn't just like making fun of me for like teasing people and just being like, ooh, were the people really into your voice? Like, you stupid dorky squirrel. And I'd just be like, yeah. And like, if we weren't having fun about and just like making fun of the fact that it's ridiculous to be doing vor stuff in general, then like, I don't know why I'm dating that person. in this hypothetical situation. Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't really care as much about using my real voice as long as nobody uses it to like attack me professionally outside of vor stuff. Like, who cares? I don't know.
I think that's a very cavalier and very fine attitude to go about it with.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Are you going to tell my parents? Like, then I might care a little bit.
Unfortunately, your parents and I aren't on speaking terms.
Yeah. And my parents don't like that I'm, like, not straight either. So who cares?
You've already got sort of the big roadblock of parental disappointment.
Yeah, it's like we already got to that. And, like, whatever.
I was looking at some of the questions on Twitter, and we already answered some of them, and I feel bad about that I didn't sort of announce the people's names.
Oh dear. I'm like, I know how said some, and I don't remember if anybody else did. Oh, there was a third person.
Yeah. There's one person who asked like a few questions in like 5-round burst.
Okay.
But to Hal's question, which is one that we kind of addressed casually beforehand, but I would like to sort of circle back to, which is what got you into audio design, which we already went into just sort of by the nature of the conversation.
Yeah. It's like, well, I found someone else doing it, and then I said, why don't I give this a try? And then it was fun, and yeah.
But the other half of that was, do you have any projects / aspirations outside of being garbage? And then he clarified that by being garbage, he meant vor trash and not literal, like, human garbage.
Oh, boy. It's like I've got lots of aspirations, and it's the sort of thing that it's like anytime I come upon a, like a big project that it's like, that would be really cool to do, and then I'm like, oh, but I'm really lazy and that would be a big endeavor. Like one of those would be like making a video game. Like I've had an idea for like a vor / fat for video game, like a platformer for ages, but it's like
a fatformer.
I mean, you could really call it a fatformer because like the whole concept would be like various fat people would be like various platforming incidents or implements. I mean,
that sounds really fun.
Yeah, like basically, like the best way to describe it would be like, okay, instead of a spring, you have like a fat guy's belly, but you could feed yourself to him or like fall into his mouth by accident or whatever, and then the belly gets bigger, and then the spring becomes more powerful, and then it would basically become like a platformer / puzzle game where like you try and get through the level without losing all your lives or something.
Very interesting.
Or you just have like a par of lives and like, you know, something like that. Like I had that idea ages ago and I haven't done crap with it because I am lazy and that would be a lot of work.
Yeah, even for young upstarts who quote unquote aren't lazy, that sounds like an insane amount of work. Very cool idea, though. I do like it.
Yeah, or it would be like I'd have to find an art person to do sprites, and like the amount of work that I know goes into a video game, like I wouldn't want to just be like, hey, could you do this to free because I can't pay you. Like it's too much for me to pay you. I guess you could start like a GoFundMe or something, but yeah, it's things like that make my mind go, hey, what if we went and just like had some like no strings attached, easy vor get off stuff, like, and then I go do that. Or I start thinking about that. It's like, hey, you know what's easier than that? Why don't you daydream about your crush instead? And I'm just like, oh yeah.
Perfect. That sort of ties into another question that was asked, at least relatively, which was about what's... it comes from Twitter user at Mr. Essence4, and Mr. Essence asks, what's your character type, both vorishly and non-vorishly? And I'm guessing they mean, like, what sort of characters do you like?
Oh, heck. I mean, we could get into an interesting tangent on that point, but I'll start by asking, like, in character-wise... Actually, Okay, character type. Like, as far as character goes, because my squirrel character has always been a weird, like, I'm not sure if it's me or just like an idealized version of me or like a separate character or whatnot, but like, because it's pretty close to me mostly, then like it's a lot of the same types where it's like bigger people. Like, I always tell people that, like, I always put bigger things as preds. Like, big 9 foot tall chubby person, like, there you go. Like, I'm crushing.
I definitely, at least on the 9 foot tall portion of things, God, tall is tall.
Yeah, so it's like, or it could just be someone who's more assertive or like really more domineering or more like physical about it, and then it's just like, oh no, the squirrel's flustered, oh no, he's getting eaten. Or it could just be like whatever is hot at the moment, because it's not like that's a hard rule, because like then I'll just be like, oh no, but the exception to the rule is also really hot, like shorter pred, or like some pred that's small but like has a hammer space belly or whatnot, or like a feral pred or stuff like that. And then like out of character would pretty much be the same thing. My only exception is that like I'm not one of those people that like ever looks at a real life person and goes, that's really hot. Or like anytime it comes up, like if there's this is going on to a different tangent, but since like you're asking like out of character, it's like my type seems to just still be like, the fictional things that are furries, as opposed to like real humans. Like, I'm not really attracted to real humans. And sometimes like talking gets into that with people where it's like someone will be like turned on by how they could like, in their head it's like, oh, I'm going to meet up at MFF and then I'm going to eat you. And it's like, well, that's sort of fun to talk about, but if you were to start teasing that in real life, then it would be just like very quick turn off for me. So like I would say my type is, it's always fictional. If that makes sense.
I can sort of empathize with that, and I think there's a good few people who can.
Oh, I lost the first bit of that.
Ah, I hate you, Discord. Just agreeing with you there.
Okay. Yeah. It's like my interests in Vor are very like wide and varied, and there's a lot there. I do like big though. It's as the song goes. It's like I like them big, I like them plumpy. Like, God, I love that song too. Just putting that out there. That is such a good song.
I did not expect you to reference Moto's first song. That fucking who is the singer behind that? Was that Will I Am?
Oh yeah, it was Will I Am. And I'm always saying that because
how do you think he feels about that?
I think he probably like was aware of the sexual connotations because he like voiced it, or like, people who fetishize fat people, like that's nothing new. It's just that like people don't talk about fetishes in media or like, in cartoons outside of jokes.
Yeah.
Like the most I can ever think about like fetishes appearing in media is like when I used to watch like Malcolm in the Middle, and like one time like Hal the husband was like fattening up his wife Lois, and then like he was definitely going like, oh, you're gonna get so round and plump, and it's just like, oh, he's like fetishizing this. Okay. Like that's most.
I always think of the Parks and Recreation episode with I don't know if you've ever seen the show.
I've seen a lot of clips.
The character Ben Wyatt says just kind of point blank that and number one, he mentions that everybody has a type, and then he says his type is women in roller skates.
Oh, yeah, you never know.
Yeah,
maybe he's like a foot fetishist that's also really into roller skates.
I imagine that a lot of people who are really into roller skates are.
Heck, now I'm imagining like some sort of casual domination thing at the roller rink. with like one person getting pinned down to the ground by a roller skate. I'm like, yeah, like, all right, who's gonna be the person that goes and draws this? Because I can't pay anybody, but I want to see this.
Well, here's the question: who after this podcast is going to come to you for what I can only assume is going to be audio hell to make that soundscape?
Well, I haven't done any paw stuff before, so might be hard.
Have you done any roll arena stuff?
No, but I'm wondering if I could even find sound like a decent sound clip of a roller skate either.
You could just push a desk chair down a hallway, maybe.
Yeah. No, but rollerblades have like that signature sound from like the plastic wheels, especially roller rinks. Like roller skates, I don't know. It's like that sort of sound that you would definitely recognize if you heard it, but if you're just hearing like a roller chair, then it would not sound right, I don't think.
Yeah. If someone's willing to pay you for roller rink, like fucking skate domination sound commission, I imagine that they are going to have the discerning ear that can tell a rollerblade from your IKEA chair in a hallway.
Yeah. I mean, that's always the problem sometimes with audio. Like, especially when I was starting out, it would just be like, well, I would like to make this thing, but like, I need audio to work with. Like, I need assets. That would especially come up when people wanted like My Little Pony stuff. It would just be like, that would be great, but any voice clips in the cartoon, there's usually a sound effect or music going on. And like, then like some of the audio that I did for like Stitch or Jake Long like ran into that, where it's like, you can sort of hear it in the sound clip because I did my best. But it really takes me out of the atmosphere when like you're hearing background sound effects that don't really fit in the middle of this voice line.
Yeah. Especially with things like movies and TV shows, I bet it's difficult to isolate that.
Oh, yeah. More so with movies, I think. But at the same time, it really depends. Like, the whole reason I did a Smog audio was because I watched the movie and there was that entire scene of just him talking with no music. And I was like, oh my God, I am going to do so much with this. And then I did.
It's like a gift.
Yeah, it was the most beautiful gift. It was just like, oh my God, clean audio of like this amazing signature voice. Like, man. I'm like thinking, I feel like I'm gonna like come across as like, oh, I'm so sexually excited by that. But no, I'm just like really excited thinking about like clean audio that I don't have to mess with to like get to sound good.
Oh God, no, I totally understand that.
Yeah,
there's a reason why I have an editor for this podcast, and it's number one because he is great, and number two because I have no ear for sound anything, and I have no experience with editing audio outside of that time in like middle school where I tried to make karaoke versions of anime openings that I liked in Audacity. And that's the realest I think I've ever gotten on this podcast, is admitting that I did that.
Yeah. And like, how would you say? Oh yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, I'm almost wondering what it is that Bleu does as far as editing to make it all work. Just because I'm like curious what the process is. I'll have to hit them up about it at some point. Or maybe they'll listen.
I'm sure he'd love to.
Or maybe they'll listen to this and be like, hey, and then I'll just be like, oh, right, I was going to talk to you and I completely forgot.
Well, now you've got a name.
Yeah, that's what I do a lot, is I forget about like everything. Like, I'm not ashamed to admit that I'm just like completely scatterbrained, and I'll often forget about things that I've agreed to or whatnot.
God, that's the worst.
Yeah, it's sort of like the story of like Gershwin and Rhapsody in Blue. I know this is going to seem like a weird tangent, but basically Gershwin like sort of agreed to write Rhapsody in Blue like in November for a concert in February. And he was like, oh sure, yeah, I could totally write that. And then like January comes around and like his brother reads in the paper, they're like, hey, Gershwin's busy writing this thing. And Gershwin like was playing pool in the next room and basically was like, shit. And and then he wrote it. Like, so that's the way I am. It's like, oh yeah, I struggle with like scheduling my stuff, and then I'm just glad that I don't have a lot going on sometimes, so that, you know, if I forget about something, I have the time to then go back to it or whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's also why I'll like start rambling on a tangent and then just be like, what point was I trying to make? I don't remember.
It's easy to just assume that you made your point at some point during the ramble. Mm-hmm. And if not, nobody's going to know.
If I ever do a speech, like, I have to write it down. I'm really bad.
Do you do a lot of public speaking?
Oh, no. No, not at all. Yeah, no. Like, I've wanted to get back into theater at one point, but I have not. And yeah, no. I've thought about taking classes on it just because I'm like not the best at some parts of it.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like you're one of the folks who's terrified by it, though.
Sorry, what was that? I lost your entire sentence.
It's okay. I've sort of been having that as well, where you'll cut in with your audio.
Oh, great.
Slightly down the road. But you're recording yourself, I'm recording myself. It should be fine, if a little bit of a pain to edit, so I'll give Blue a little extra money. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, sorry, Blue.
This will not be the first time that this has happened, but it probably won't be funny this time.
Yeah. I don't know. That's Discord, I guess.
Gotta love it, except I don't.
Yeah.
It may not work good, but at least it has memes.
I mean, the internet's under more strain anymore because everyone's at home streaming 4K television.
Yes. I need to watch The Office again in 4K.
God, you could just go look up clips on that. That's all I do when I'm in bed. Like, I'll just be like, hey, YouTube, what clips of, like, comedy shows that I've never watched do you have? And then it'll just give me them. I'm just like, oh, yes.
All the funniest bits.
I know so much about pop culture that I didn't care about at the time.
You caught the wave a little bit late.
Mm-hmm.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. God knows I have been caught in that trap of not knowing pop culture stuff, and then I seem like an asshole.
Well, I was definitely more of a social outcast, like, in high school, and that was, like, when The Office was going on, and then everyone was like, oh, yeah, we're gonna watch The Office! Like, oh, I love that show. Have you watched the latest season? I'm just like, I don't watch TV. Like, I still don't watch TV.
Same. TV sucks anyways. Who needs it?
While we have a lull in the conversation, I am going to... Oh, sorry. You might have gotten cut off.
Yeah, I think I did. I was just shitting on TV quietly to myself.
Oh, okay. I'm just going to hit stored. There we go. Okay.
Oh, shit.
Anyway, what were we talking about?
Either way, I'm sort of running out of more or less questions, but I did want to get to two things. One of them being the name of this podcast and its sort of nature, which is the no subject high notes that you get on Fur Affinity from people who... Not specifically those, but are there any notable interactions you have had as somebody who is uniquely in that sort of audio space that you would like to talk about while not naming any names?
Well, it's like when I was thinking about, like, coming on this podcast, I was like, oh, like, I must have some great notes or whatnot. But then I was like, anytime someone messages me and is like, hey, do this, which is usually what the no subject high ones are, it's like I immediately just, like, mentally filter them out and forget about them. Like,
honestly, that's the smart thing to do.
Yeah. So, like, when it comes to fan interactions, like, I did mention one earlier where someone, like, looked up my real name in like, an attempt to, like, I don't know what their goal might have been besides me just blocking them, which is what I did. But, like, trying to be like, hey, I found your name and I'm going to email your parents. And then I was just like, you really don't even know where I live, actually, so bye. There's been people before that have, like, just begged me to go on voice with them and talk stuff, but I usually, like, shoo those off pretty quickly. And then, like, I'm like, what other interactions do I have with people? I don't actually talk with a whole lot of people sometimes. I'm like, there's some friends that I'll role play with, but that's not really a no subject high sort of interaction. There's like, heck, I don't know. There'd probably be more if I was just like posting like stuff regularly, which I'm really bad at. But if I was posting stuff regularly, then maybe they'd like be more after me because I'd have more like of a follower momentum going.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
There's some sort of interesting people who I hesitate to even call them like clout chasers, but like folks come out of the woodwork when you're one of those like people whose follower counts just shoot up.
Yeah. No, for me it's like, well, it's not like I can really post a lot of sound porn on Twitter because it's sound, and like I could post a video with it maybe, like that gets pretty popular, but like even then I don't see myself as very good at Twitter. Like there's people that I see like constantly, like they post a fun GIF to go along with their horny thought, and that gets lots of attention. Or they're like, here's just a video of like some slight movement along with the audio, and that gets lots of attention. And then I'm just like, So I don't really attract as much of the attention gravitating around. Besides, most of what I post on Twitter is like retweets of people angry about politics. So yeah, I can understand people not wanting to follow for that either. I just like, whatever. I don't know.
It could be tough to sort of balance that act, especially on Twitter.
Yeah. Or it's just like, I don't care as much. Like, I post videos on there sometimes just because like I had some stupid idea and I go with it. Or, oh yeah, the one time I was like trying out voicing like stuff from a picture, and then it was like, oh, stick the picture with it, and it's like that much better all of a sudden. Like it really helps to have visuals to go along with the sound. It's just that like I haven't really thought about that, or I don't want to spend the time if it's some really small scribble or something.
Yeah. And then I'm trying to, sorry if I'm getting distracted. It's also, I'm getting kind of late.
Oh, it's fine. You know, if you want something to jump on, there was one more question that I could go into weird technical detail about. Someone was asking about like early on starting microphones.
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah, well, it was another question by Mr. Essence that I was like, oh, I'll talk about that. Someone was like, or they were like, did you ever just think about what kind of audio device would even be good for capturing good audio, or did you just happen to have something lying around and point it at yourself and be like, damn, okay, it was pretty much the latter. I was using like a crappy USB microphone that like I was using for a long time up until like just recently. I finally got an audio interface and now I can use like this good microphone. But it was like, again, I was in college and like I was like, oh, my stomach's making noise. I'm gonna boot up my ancient laptop and like hit record on Goldwave. And yeah, I was going to do like a retrospective for the beginning of the decade and be like, hey, let's look at like the awful recordings from 2013 that I never use. Because the problem with a USB microphone is that it makes a lot of electrical noise by itself. So if you try and record something quiet, like stomach noises, then like it's really not good. So then I would try and clean that electronic noise out of there, and then it would just create like this garbled audio with a lot of like tiny audio artifacts. Ugh. It's like the best way I can describe it, because it'd be like really obvious JPEG compression. Like there'd just be noise that you can hear. So then I'd have to like take that and really low pass it to kind of get rid of that noise, and then have like very semi-usable audio. And then later on, I started actually getting recording things. Like I got a Tascam DR40, I believe. It's a handheld recorder. And I could point that at my stomach and get okay audio, but it had the same problem of like recording right next to the microphone. You get electronic noise from that. Or I should probably say electric noise, not electronic noise. But because there's a hard drive working right next to the wires transmitting the sound, then you get electric interference, and that makes noise.
Okay.
And then, like, I started getting more microphones after I started taking some classes in it. Like, I got, like, an SM57 and a cloud lifter, and that was, like, okay. And then I got, like, and then I got, like, a preamp, which let me turn up the signal cleanly, and then that got way better. And then I got, like, a Rode NT5, I believe. And that was okay. And now I have the microphone that I have now, which is a Stellar X2. So basically, I was just recording stuff because I could. And it was fun to be like, hey, I recorded stomach growls. But, like, starting to address the obvious shortfalls of, like, bad equipment didn't come until much later.
Yeah, jeez.
Yeah. Now it's like I'm at a pretty good place with my equipment. Now I can like record my voice like right at the computer. Like I can record quiet stuff decently well. I have a lot of recordings that I haven't even stuck on for Affinity that I'm meaning to, like just more sound assets for people to use, which I swear I'm going to get to posting one of these days, along with like multiple commissions that I've gotten from people that I haven't posted. Like, again, I'm just scatterbrained and haven't thought about it.
I'm sure people will have some stuff to look forward to in the near future.
Yeah, something for the near future.
But sort of with those questions asked, I had one more that is sort of on my pressing list of things.
Okay.
And that is,
hit me with it.
Related to your work. You could do like whatever your favorite music thing is, but if you don't want to share that necessarily, what's the favorite piece of audio work you've ever done?
Oh God, that's hard. I'm gonna have to like look at my FA for that, just so I can remember everything. Because otherwise, I'm gonna like look at it later and just be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I forgot that."
Yeah.
Well, I've left the Smog one up as my featured submission for ages because it was really fun. Like, just because it was so clean to work with, and it was great.
All the frustration is gone.
Yeah. Heck. There's the one that I did for Scott C. The Squirrel Napped, like the Christmas one. Like,
yeah,
that one was always fun. I think one of the ones that always turned out the best was, like, one I did for Samael. Like, this is, like, reaching back a bit, but it was called Party Food. Oh, yeah, God. Oh, it was October 2014.
Jesus. I think I remember that one, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, but it worked really well because it had multiple stomach environments, and you could, like, really feel that you were going deeper in, and then the digestion, like, faded in very slowly, and it worked pretty well. I'm like, what else? There were, like, as far as recent stuff, there was the one that I did for Eblis, which is like Straga's alien character, that like a lot of things worked out really well with that. Like I was just like, hey, I'm just going to put a microphone in the middle of the room and do my lines from like the other side of the room because it's supposed to sound like it's coming from a separate room. And like it ended up working out really well.
Really?
And yeah. And it also alerted me to the fact that like I can get really good slurping sounds, like just with a preamp and like not only slurping sounds either, but also like gulping noises. Like that's something I'm gonna do a whole sound pack of because I have a lot of good slurps and I have a lot of like they're like really like meaty, juicy, gulpy noises, and I'm just like, oh my God, like you hear them in that audio, you hear them in like the surprise gift that I did for like FT. Like, yeah. Oh, and as far as like major things go, there was also like Belly Call, which is one that I like randomly did as a trade that like worked really well, just like as a nice chill endo one. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of them have their own different little charms and like things that I just liked working on them about. And it's usually stuff that's like makes it easier or just like, oh, like that's a really good soundbite that got thrown in there.
Yeah, especially with audio stuff, I bet it's difficult to nail down.
Yeah. I mean, the ironic thing is that I don't really listen to my own stuff all that much. And I don't imagine most porn people like look at their own material all that much, like as like things that they go to get enjoyment out of.
Oh yeah. I personally, I never get high off my own supply when it comes to the spank bank. That just feels gross to me.
Yeah. Or it's not just that, but it's just like I'll listen to it and I'll just be like, I'm kind of over this. I've listened to it so much while working on it.
Yeah, you stop thinking of more or less the actual thing that you're listening to, and you think, God, this was a pain to work on.
Yeah, or it could be like, oh man, I would have changed that now. But who knows? Maybe some of my older stuff is like all the better now because I don't remember what I did.
Sort of a time heals all wounds thing.
Yeah. I will say too that I've got a lot of recent stuff that I haven't even posted that like might be good. Let me see what's in my miscellaneous done audio folder.
What a good folder.
Oh yeah, there was one that I did with like some Star Fox sound clips.
Oh shit.
Of like, oh no, Star Fox got gulped, and like it's just like 5 or 10 seconds or something, but like I took some sounds and then I stretched them out like crazy, and I was like, oh wait, this works. This sounds great. This sounds like big hulking beast swallows Star Fox and then like lets out a really guttural belch. I'm just like, dang, that's great. All right, cool. And then I left it at that.
Would you ever consider doing audio for the Togepi guy who gets all the commissions of Giant, Macro, Star Fox, and Falco?
Well, I have had someone ask me when I was going to do my macro stuff, and I've recorded some things along those lines too. I just haven't done anything with it. Like, oh man, there's something I was working on for Hungo too, which if he listens to this, like I started, I got like a minute in, but I haven't gotten back to it.
Oh shit.
You know, it's sort of like the Midna thing that I started once and then like have to go back to. Yeah, oh boy. Actually, I did do audio for like an animation that, what's his name? Untied Verbiger, I believe, or United Verbiger.
I don't think I'm familiar with their work.
It's micro macro, like I think it's a husky swallowing a wolf or something like that. But it's definitely micro macro, and there's some mouth play involved, and like, yeah. So I've gotten into micro macro, and like I mean to get into hypnosis too, but like I'm not sure how some of that might come off. It's like I'd like to do some hypnosis stuff that's like a lot more of the comforting rather than domineering thing, but then I'm like, oh no, that shit's gonna get way too real way too fast.
Yeah.
Like if I ever start making something that's like specifically to help like assuage my constant anxiety, then it's like, oh, it's gonna get way too real, and I don't know how to feel about that.
Oh, what a problem to bump into.
Yeah. Or oh god, I did some random like music for someone based on an April Fool's joke, and they haven't looked at it yet, and I have to bug them about it. But like all of a sudden the lyrics got like way too real for a second. I was just like, oh shit, like I'm just getting irritated about this thing. I'm not making this fun kinky thing. Like no, quick, bring it back to the kink. It was because they like made their character like a Homestuck troll for a day.
Oh,
and then
God.
And then the lyrics were like, what does this matter? Trolls just come back from the dead. This comic is meaningless. Why did we come back to this? And then it's just like, oh wait, shit. Wait.
Oh god, as someone who has
like,
read that comic, I could feel the realness in that.
Yeah, it was just like, oh shit, like, oh no. This is just like me like getting angry about Homestuck for like 1 or 2 lines. And it's just like, all right, no, bring it back to the butt. Okay, cool. There we go.
Bring it back to the butt. I think we've got an episode title.
Oh, great.
No, that's probably not going to be it. I usually don't decide those things until the day that it gets posted.
That's fair enough. Oh boy.
God, that was delightful though.
Oh boy.
I'm still kind of laughing at that. If they ever end up listening to it and you post it, which you don't have to. I would love to hear that just because I'm curious.
Oh yeah, I was showing some people. It's like, it's yet another example of how like my shit posting goes like way too hard sometimes, and I like start legitimately putting a bunch of effort into it. Like I think one time,
though.
Yeah, like I saw a post on Tumblr one time that was like someone being like, if I spend more than 30 minutes on an ironic shitpost fetish thing, then suddenly the fetish is legitimate. And I was just like, oh god, I usually spend 2 or 3 hours on stuff. Or like that Pickle Rick thing that I did. It was like that, you know, it's like definitely takes like an hour at least. And it's just like, well, now this is becoming like legit messing around stuff.
Now the Pickle Rick has legitimacy.
Yeah, or now like it's legitimate like vor stuff. It's like, oh well, high quality shit posting is something that I attempt to do sometimes. And I mean quality being as in like I should clarify, it's more like high effort shit posting, not high quality. Like quality is subjective and it doesn't always land, but like sometimes it'll just be like a joke and it's like, all right, I've got to like make a whole song about this now and spend 5 hours on it.
Yeah.
No, the person doesn't even respond to my Twitter DMs. I'm so betrayed.
Oh, that's also too
yeah. It was a good song too.
I believe it.
Or at least it was, you know, an okay song. I don't have auto-tune, so I'm a little pitchy.
That's okay. I read somewhere on the internet that auto-tune is responsible for the downfall of society.
I've used auto-tune. It's useful. It's more just like, it's like a lot of other audio stuff. It's like if it's really obvious, then it's not great. But like recording one singular perfect take it's a little hard to do. And like modern production is that everything is very clean and very precise. Like to the point where, you know, you would record a great take and then you'd be like, well, that note was a little off. So, you know, just go into auto-tune and bump it up a little bit.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Like the mantra that I've gotten is like, in order to get good audio, you record a good take from the start. Like if you have to spend a lot of time in auto-tune after the fact fixing stuff, then like that's not what you want to be doing with your time. It's just like if you have to be doing that, then like
Yeah, definitely.
But you know, get a good take and then fix the things that need fixing. Yeah.
I still like to blame the downfall of humanity on Cher and on Therese.
Oh goodness, Cher didn't even do it to like fix pitches. Cher did it like strictly for the effect, because Cher could sing perfectly well outside of it.
I don't personally mind like heavy auto-tune stuff when it's used almost like an instrument in and of itself.
Oh yeah, that's a whole other thing too.
That's what the dude who recorded the opening music that I use, which was a cover of a SpongeBob song.
Ah, that makes sense.
He was I would love to be able to recommend people go listen to his stuff, but he deleted all of his everything and completely fled the internet.
Oh, so I always hate it when people do that, but everybody's got their reasons, I'm sure.
I have no doubts, but if UV Sir J is listening to this, just know I'm a huge, massive fan, and if you have a problem with me using your SpongeBob cover, I'll 100% take it down and retroactively go back and get rid of it. But please come back.
I'll just record an extremely like basic piano version of it or something. I don't know.
I could probably go and get the royalty-free version that SpongeBob just uses.
That's fair.
I imagine it's royalty-free.
I think a lot of SpongeBob music is royalty-free, but I can't say that for sure. I just remember someone saying it on the internet once. You know, just like a lot of information in my head. It's like, oh yeah, I read that on a Twitter post once. Oh wait, that doesn't actually make it legitimately real, but I did read it once.
That is how the internet works a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's one of those people who did a whole bunch of just bizarre, really kind of out there music that I thought was super cool.
Yeah. It's like the sort of thing that I'd be doing if I wasn't distracted by all the wonderful things there are to do on the internet and the computer in general.
Yeah.
Like, that's almost the problem with, like, I have very broad interests when it comes to vor or, like, finding stuff attractive. So, like, I could just launch into some tangents with people or just, like, get totally caught up in whatever latest thing comes out. And, you know, it's like, well, what if I was just working on music full time or, like, creating a game full time or something? Like, that would be a lot of effort on my part to just kind of block everything out, because there's just so much other fun stuff that I want to be involved in and also participate in and keep the growth of going. Like there's a Space Station 13 server that does vor stuff, and I'm like, that's cool. I want to hang out there and keep the place active. But also, like, if I go on there, then I'm there for hours at a time or whatnot. Or, like, if someone wants to play around, then it's, like, really hard to say no because, like, I don't want to disappoint them and then not have them come back, like, and hang out or anything. But I guess that's kind of the problem when you have a friendship solely based on, like, meeting in a fetish chat.
Yeah. It's one of the problems with it, but...
yeah.
There's also lots of good stuff.
Yeah. So I'm all over the place because... everything's fantastic, and yeah. Or I'll, like, sit down and, like, for an hour and a half and write some story just to spite someone that I've never talked to before. Or, like, I should clarify. One time I was just like, well, I should work on something, but someone got talking to me about one person on the internet that always gets upset when, like, big grand dragons are prey because, like, dragons are real and they always eat people. So I, like, wrote a story of, like, a totally small animal eating a gigantic, like, 1,000-year-old dragon.
Spite porn?
Yeah, I mean, I, like, never posted it anywhere, but I was just like, why the heck not?
I could sort of understand the appeal of that. The only time I ever feel that way is whenever I see the people who take their preference for safe vor to, like, the extreme.
Yeah. Oh, that's always a topic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Feels like every other month that, like, it starts to get into a whole debate about safe vor versus digestion and one side being better than the other, or, like, whatever immorality, or someone posts on it. It's like basically someone online goes, oh, the discourse is starting up again, and they in turn start all the discourse because they're way more popular than, like, the 7-follower person that posted a bad take. Yeah.
I don't know. I've never gotten super upset, and I don't tend to like endo stuff personally, but I don't care. It's just whenever people imply that I'm like a necrophile for wanting to die in vor stuff, it's like, how the fuck does that work?
Yeah, or even then, you might not even necessarily die because, like, I've seen a lot of great takes about, like, I think people are going to start separating soft vor into its own thing. Soft vor, like, used to mean, as opposed to hard vor, which was like ripping and tearing of limbs and eating someone like drumsticks. Mm-hmm. Like, soft vor was basically being swallowed whole. But I almost feel like lately I've been seeing more people see soft vor as, like, not digestive or whatnot. Or
I've seen it called like extra soft vor. Oh, sorry. I think it was cutting out again.
Oh, no worries. I was just going to say, or it could be soft digestion.
Okay.
Or I've seen people that'll say, like, they like digestion, but then, like, here's other ways that it could end after that. Like, they could become sentient fat. They could, like, go to a predscape. They could do all this other great stuff. Like, I've seen a lot of exploration and development of that side, and it's cool to see.
I have never heard of Predscape before, but it sounds like a really dope website I'd like to visit sometime.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could just ask a friend about a Predscape, and, you know, who knows, they might be happy to show you. You know, I could show you my Predscape.
Oh, no, it's horny.
And then you get in there, it's like, oh, no, but I'm just going to digest you because that's what you're into, and I'm nothing if but completely flexible on my preferences in order to just tease the other person.
Oh, fuck. I think this is the first, like, sort of live Vorny that has happened.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, we haven't even started talking about how much of a horrible tease I am. And that's also why I never get anything done, because I just want to sit and tease people all day.
I mean, that's getting something done.
Yeah, it's not something you can really go publicly posting around. People just be like, who cares? It's just like, oh, I had like a multi-roleplay thing with someone where like I slowly hypnotized them into being completely like unable to resist Squirrel Bud, and then like ended off with permavore of their persona. It's just like nobody is really going to get a whole lot from that except for the person it was aimed at.
I do think that hypnotized into enjoying Squirrel Butt might be the name of the episode now.
Well,
but I don't want to call out whoever this person was. So if they do end up listening to this, I'm not making fun of you. I promise. It's just a fun sentence to say.
Yeah.
I don't have license to make fun of anyone.
No,
I got gift art of my persona drawn as Rouge the Bat.
I mean, I have had one of my characters dressed up in Rouge the Bat's outfit, you know, after they ate Rouge the Bat, because that's fun.
That is fun. God, that's fun.
Yeah. See, there's lots of fun stuff about War we could just talk about forever.
It's true. Although it is past midnight and I need to check on some stuff before it gets too late. So
oh, heck, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to get to like legitimate work at some point.
Yeah, I should definitely let you go. But before I do, is there any sort of projects or people that you would like to give a shout out to while you're here?
Oh, heck. That's like asking what my favorite artist is. It's like there's way too many. I'll try and give a broad improvised statement and have it not come out too weird. But in all my time in the Vor community, like with how much it's just developed over the years. Like sometimes I think back to like when I was like encountering BBS boards and like back when burned furs was a thing. And like now Vor's like a lot more mainstream, and like I know everybody likes to get into fights, but like everybody's got such a unique charm about them in their own way. And like for the most part, it's not like people have really shitty opinions or really shitty things about them. And like even today, like I got into a big argument on Twitter over nothing, and then I stepped back and I was like, man, this is really hypocritical of me to like be this invested in something I've never talked about before. And like I don't know, like a lot of the times I'm just like, yeah, I think everybody's pretty fantastic in their own way, and even if you might not think so, just remember that we're only getting like a tiny slice of each other over we're only getting a tiny slice of each other over the internet. And it's important to remember to just kind of give people the benefit of the doubt. That being said, if they repeatedly do some really questionable things, then, you know, make your own decisions. But yeah, I don't know. There's so many great people around. It's hard to just say one is the thing that I want to say.
Yeah. It's definitely difficult to sort of just nail someone down. Yeah.
Now that I've like put myself up on a soapbox and probably said some things that are going to be said that are probably going to be taken the wrong way, now I'm really worried.
Don't be.
I'm like up on the soapbox and clutching my tail. I'm just like, oh God, people are going to start thinking that like my words mean something.
Don't worry.
That's the
Your
thing.
words mean nothing.
Even listening to this right now, like I might come off in a way that I didn't mean to. And we're all just crazy people involved in this stupid fetish. And that's about it. I don't know.
Got a little existential dread near the end there.
It's not as much existential dread as it's just like human beings are just inherently flawed and we're never gonna be the perfect thing to everybody and all that sort of stuff.
God.
It's just like I can only hope that I can appeal to people and not have them like think that I'm an asshole. And I say that while like angrily retweeting things sometimes and getting heated about stupid shit that like I didn't even know existed and being like, oh, I'm gonna go through this person's history. Aha, they said this. And aha, this thing has a different context. Now I need to explain to the person I was talking to. And that's just like, oh, fuck, what am I doing?
Yeah, it's been like 2 hours and I'm still doing this.
Yeah, it's been 2 hours and I'm still angry about this. Like, no, that's dumb. I need to go work.
It's difficult to avoid that sort of thing, though, especially on the internet.
Yeah. And, like, there is a lot to get angry about nowadays, but, like, oh, boy. At the same time, I just want to chill and talk about vor stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. But
ugh.
That's I think that's as good a shout out as anything, is sort of the call to collective humanity and to treat others with...
Yeah, or not, like, I almost want to specify that I don't mean to come off as some sort of moral high ground because I'm an idiot squirrel that makes vor audio. Like, I just think that everybody's pretty great in their own way. Even if there's people that I don't really talk to or there's people that I don't jive with, like, that doesn't mean they're bad people. I mean, unless it's people that I specifically blocked because they've done really questionable stuff in the past.
Yeah.
And there's like logs of receipts of stuff, and it's just like, all right, that person's gone from my life. But like, hardly anybody that I know in the vor sphere is anything near that.
Yeah.
And if they are, then I've probably already blocked and forgotten about them. So, on the most part, just everybody's great. And yeah. Hooray. Thumbs up. I don't know. I'm just like, eat the rich. Eat more food because it's hot when you have a belly. Like, I don't know. If we were living in better times, then I would feel much better about being like some sort of like mean power tripping pred. It's just that the times change and it's suddenly like, oh, this reminds me of stuff that goes on in the world and now I don't want to do this anymore. So we shift into more cuddly, comforting vor. And then, yeah, like things will change. I don't know. Everybody's great. I'll say it again. Everybody is great. Please don't hate me for taking forever on commissions. I'm really dumb. I'm sorry.
I'm sure the people are willing to wait.
I have a ton of work to do, and I decided to jump on this podcast instead because I wanted to, and it's fun.
I've had a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have a lot of opportunity to just ramble at folks sometimes. And in a way that's not like taking up space on a Twitter thread or something.
Yeah. Well, don't worry. This is your episode to take up as much space as you want to.
See, now I'm having thoughts about like, oh, people like it when I'm a big fat squirrel, and oh, that is pretty fun. Well, maybe I should just like do that in this metaphysical place we've constructed for ourselves.
The fucking metaverse of this podcast is where you are the fattest squirrel.
Yeah. I like that sentence. The metaverse of this place is where you are the fattest squirrel. I'm just like, yeah, damn right.
I think fattest squirrel in the metaverse might be the name of the podcast.
Yeah, and then I'll just be like, oh no, but I know so many other fatter squirrels too.
Not in this one. This is yours.
Yeah, when there's two people, there's not much competition.
You made me feel good about my own body there. Thank you.
Yeah.
I've spent nothing but this quarantine eating a bunch of terrible food, and I feel gross. I need to exercise more.
Yeah. Well, I've got Ring Fit, and I've been doing that, and...
God, I need to start
I'm kind of glad that I haven't had a lot of opportunity to go get snack foods, because I would just load up on those, yeah.
That is the problem with the quarantine.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot wrong with it.
Yeah, there are numerous problems. I don't mean to say that like I have gained weight is the worst possible thing about this situation.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, it's almost nothing.
Yeah, it's not really worth getting into, but I think everyone out there is going to agree that, hey, the world sucks right now. Woo.
Yeah, it's not great right now, but hopefully, you can listen to this episode and have a fun time. And who knows, maybe by the time this comes out, it'll all be over. Maybe, hopefully. Fingers crossed. That would be nice.
Yeah, I kind of doubt it, but, I can kind of hope for, like, let me give some context. Like, back in, 2008 or 2012, I was in college when all that voting stuff was going on. It's just like, yeah, everything's great. I was also in a different country. I didn't have to care about politics, and, it was just sort of this banal thing in the background, and you could just assume that it was great. Looking back on it, turns out it wasn't great, but, it sure would be nice if we could get back to just being able to ignore politics and what goes on in the world and just, have our own internet space where we aren't going to get spied on by social media, and people aren't going to launch hate campaigns for whatever stupid shit you do, and you don't have to worry about cultivating your online presence just in case the normies come around. And yeah, it'd be nice if we could go back to that, but hopefully in the future, who knows,
maybe someday soon even.
Yeah, hopefully. And if not, well, I'm just going to be shameless about it. I don't know.
Yeah, if you're going to be loud, you got to be proud.
Yeah. Although I say that, and I probably would just, start bending to try to appease to the people that have come across it and just be like, no, it's all okay. I don't know. It really depends on the context of whatever hypothetical situation we're talking about.
The world is so very many shades of gray.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what that name of that horny book series was. Okay, I get it.
Oh, did you forget about 50 Shades of Grey?
I genuinely did, and then I'm like, wait, I've heard that before. Oh, that's right, that thing that moms were real into for a while.
Yeah. It's that thing that, I was looking at office clips, and there was, one of the older ladies there getting into 50 Shades of Grey at the office, and they'd have to be like, stop, throw water on her. Oh, yeah, that was a thing. Now I just want to, make a parody of that called 50 Shades of Pink,
Oh shit.
It'd be basically exploring the depths of amazingness that are maws and then throats and then stomachs. I'm sure someone might be into that.
I'm sure you're not wrong.
It would be me. I would be into that really hard.
Well, I think you've got your next little side project then. Your next, on top of many.
It's a little hard to explore maw shots in detail in audio form, though.
Yeah, I can only do so many squelchy noises before it becomes absurd.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to have the tongue moving around and get into maw play, because that's a lot of action. But oh, you've created the maw. All right, I can just sit there for a while. I don't know.
The conceptual maw.
Yeah. Well,
God, there's a lot of good titles right at the end of this podcast.
Yeah. I'm part of me wants to ask you if you want to do any shout outs. And it's wait, it's your podcast though.
I don't know. I usually just shout out my Twitter in the event that some people haven't seen it, which is, it's a bad place. You shouldn't go there. But if you want to, it's at Hookaloof. And
and my Twitter is at Jeschke Squirrel, which is JESCHKESQRL. Yes, that's what it is.
And you can go there.
To be wait, is that Squirrel? Yes, that's Squirrel. Yeah.
You got it. You nailed it. You know how to spell squirrel.
Yeah.
You can go there to find all of the J-Man's various musings.
Yeah. Or, whatever retweets. Which is probably just going to be, stupid internet stuff and, left-leaning politics and... I don't know. I feel like I have a pretty general... furry opinion when it comes to Twitter, so it's not going to be anything that you are unused to if you follow furry Twitter artists.
Tune in for the status quo.
Yeah, it's going to be horny stuff, stupid internet stuff, and various, hey, right wing sucks, or hey, like, man, the like current stuff sucks, and you know, stuff like that. I don't think I even do that all that much, but like it shows up. So
yeah. I'm sure people know what to expect at this point, but
yeah, I'm like, at one point I went on a small rant on like a live stream. I was like, all right, here's how I think it's gonna go in the next election, and it's gonna suck.
I can't get into that. I'll get absolutely depressed and despondent.
Yeah, no, I don't know. You just try to provide for the people around you.
Yeah,
Who knows?
I'm just gonna draw more horny Toriel drawings and try to ignore everything.
Yeah, that's fine.
All
I mean, I think I came off as like really dismissive there. It's like, no, that's like pretty much what I'm going to be doing is just like working on horny stuff, and that's my online presence.
Bury your head in the sand of libido. Come on down.
Yeah, and then like whenever I take my head out, it's usually, you know, not on the Twitter or not in a very strong way.
Yeah.
Just because, yeah, whatever.
All right. But,
all right. Well, is there anything else we should like that I can ramble about for 15 minutes?
I don't know. This is probably going to be the longest podcast I've done so far.
Yeah.
So there's probably going to be a bit of cutting here and there.
Does Bleu have a Ko-Fi or something? I feel like I should toss them some money for this.
I can pass you his PayPal if you want to send him a little tip.
Yeah,
I know I'm going to be paying him a little bit extra for this episode just because of audio problems that I didn't actively try to fix right at the start.
Well, it's a little hard to adjust
for
bad internet or anything, or internet that just gets dropped.
Oh my god, it just happened right there. How fantastic.
Yeah. At least we're not doing video calls or something.
Jesus, that would be terrible. Besides, I'm currently sitting in the dark.
Yeah. All right, speaking of which, it's 12:40 and I should really get to work and you should probably get to bed.
You're not wrong. So, with that note, this has been Subject High, the only podcast on the internet with the guests who do. And I hope you go to bed soon because it's late.
Yeah, go to bed. Stop staying up so late. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to be up for the next 4 hours so that I can be there when Animal Crossing turns over.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.